How's it going, everyone? Sorry for weather one drop. That was today. It's October 29th, 2021, and today we're going to focus on the major nor'easter that's expected to bring strong winds, heavy rain, and potentially flash flooding throughout all the northeast coast. And we'll also talk about our next potential major snowstorm that could impact the Midwest for next week. Well, before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current computer model forecast provided from the European model at this time. And you of course see here is a nor'easter we're talking about. We're gonna see strong winds come from the east just off the Atlantic coast and enter more inland to bring a lot of that an onshore flow of moisture that should bring heavy rainfall throughout the northeast in excess of potentially 3 to 5 inches of rain in some areas in the northeast. However, if we were to continue to move forward well into the future, head into next week, we see another trough come off the west coast, and this one has the possibility of producing some snow in the Midwest. So we're first going to focus on the next potential Midwest snowstorm, and then we'll focus on the major nor'easter that's expected to impact you guys in the Northeast in the very, very near future, within less than 24 hours from now at this point. But let's first take a focus on this next potential major snowstorm in the Midwest, and you see that by the 102-hour mark, which is approximately around 4 days from now, we see a trough come off the Pacific Northwest and move southwestward, and it brings snow further into the Rocky Mountain region, where we do see snow in the higher elevations of Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. But if we were to continue to move forward, you see that the snow heads further eastward, where it impacts Kansas and Nebraska as well. So you won't need to be in the higher elevations to experience snowfall from this next potential snowstorm. You see it's also impacting Denver, Colorado as well. And if we were to continue to move even forward, you see the snow enters further southward, where we do see not a large portion, but small portions of Texas, Oklahoma, as well as New Mexico get involved in a little bit of snow. And if we were to continue to move forward after that, we do see some excess snow right behind this snow, where we do see maybe a small little trough right behind where this trough is expected to bring snow, heavy snow to Kansas and Colorado. So you see that there is a possibility of snow. We're entering the forecast time frame where now we're becoming a little bit more certain that there may be a snowstorm, at least in Colorado and Kansas, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, unfortunately, especially since the other main reliable computer model, the GFS model, is still disagreeing with what the European model is saying in a pretty drastic way, I'd say. While the GFS model is agreeing that there will be snow in the higher elevations of Colorado, it isn't expecting much of any snow in Kansas, Nebraska, or much of a large area of snow, as it should affect exclusively the higher elevations of Colorado, but nothing outside of that, based off what the GFS model is saying, which is a stark contrast from what the European model is saying, where you clearly see that the snow is extending to Kansas, it's extending to Nebraska, as well as Wyoming, and headed further southward into the Panhandle, Texas, and New Mexico. So thanks to the stark differences between the forecast between the European model and the GFS model, there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding the forecast and how much exact snow you should expect. What really will determine whether you or not you'll experience a major snowstorm in the Midwest is how far south this jet stream will dip by early next week. Because if we see the jet stream dip drop far enough southward, then that will create a more unstable environment overall throughout the Midwest, since the cold air will try to filter into the warmer air further southward. It's gonna force a lot more lift in the atmosphere to occur for a lot of that water vapor to condensate in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But if the jet stream dip is a little bit less pronounced, then we're less likely to see a snowstorm, thanks to a less unstable environment, which means less lift in the atmosphere for the air molecules or the cooler air molecules to force a lot of that water vapor up into the upper levels of the atmosphere. So there's still a lot of uncertainty how far south this jet stream will dip. If we were to compare it directly to what the GFS model is saying, you're going to see that the GFS model isn't expecting as pronounced of a jet stream dip, where we do see the jet stream dip is a little bit focused more further eastward, and it's going to be and the cold air is going to be just enough of a distance away from the trough coming off the Pacific Northwest that the trough will not have a lot to work with when it comes to lift and instability in the atmosphere to strengthen into a major snowstorm. And you see that this trough is mainly bringing at most just a couple of snow showers to the higher elevations of Colorado, but nothing more than that. So we have to wait and see how far south this jet stream dips and how close it is relative to this low pressure system, because it also needs to be fairly close to the low pressure system for that unstable environment to occur in the Midwest for this snowstorm to happen. It really all depends on the speed of the atmosphere. If we were to see the jet stream move a little bit slower, then we're more likely to see an unstable environment throughout the Midwest for a snowstorm to occur. So we just got to wait and see. We need to pay attention to how fast the jet stream moves. A pattern that you can notice is if this nor'easter that's expected to impact the Northeast, if it ends up being a little bit stronger than average, and more likely than not, there's more instability in the atmosphere, and the jet stream will, as a result, will move faster, which means a less unstable environment for the Midwest, thanks to a faster jet stream moving further away from the more unstable air. From the more warmer air in the Midwest. But if this nor'easter were a little bit weaker, then we'd see a slower jet stream and more unstable air in the Midwest. So there's still a lot to uncover over the next couple of days to really give a confident forecast. I'll make sure to keep you guys updated regarding any sort of forecast changes as we head close to the event. Now, taking a look at what the snowfall forecast from the European model, keep in mind that there's still a lot of uncertainty, and do not take this very seriously just yet, because this is easily subject to change. You see that the European does take quite a significant snowstorm throughout the Midwest, and it's affecting more populated areas such as Denver, Colorado, and the metropolitan area of Denver, Colorado, where you see Denver is right between the 4 to 6 inch range, which is a pretty significant snowstorm for you guys. And in Kansas, you could experience up to 10 inches of snow in some areas. So having a snowstorm that's could produce 6 to 10 inches or so is quite significant for you guys. But you see the higher elevations will of course get the most amount of snowfall in Colorado, where we do see areas up to 2 feet in the extreme highest elevations. But for the most part, the snow should be hovering around 12 to 18 inches throughout the higher elevations, which is still a very significant snowstorm for you guys. This extends to Wyoming as well. Nebraska is getting involved with some snow, not a ton, but it's still a decent amount. And you see that there's some snow even extending further southward to New Mexico, where you're experiencing an area of 1 to 3. Same goes for Texas and the extreme western portion of Oklahoma. So we certainly need to keep a close eye on this one. Taking a look at what the GFS model is stating when it comes to the snowfall, you see a stark difference from what the European model is saying, where the European model wants to take a very large area of snowfall. The GFS model wants to keep the snow strictly focused on the higher elevations of Wyoming and Colorado, and nothing more than that. In this case, Denver, Colorado isn't getting any snow, and this extends to Kansas as well. So there's still a lot of uncertainty. I'll keep you guys updated. It really all depends on how far south the jet stream dips and how fast it moves to see if there will be enough of an unstable environment in the Midwest. But we just have to wait and see and pay close attention to the weather over the next couple of days. Another thing we need to take a look at when forecasting this snowstorm is the Arctic oscillation, and you see that headed into late October into early November, we do dip down to a negative Arctic oscillation phase, which does favor more jet stream dips, does favor colder air in the United States, and does as a result favor a more unstable environment, since that jet stream dip will allow for that cold air to interact with that warm air for a more unstable environment to occur. And you see that that's the forecast right now, where headed into late October into early November, we do see we go back into a negative Arctic oscillation phase, which brings typically more colder and unstable light conditions throughout the United States. So that's at least something that would favor a snowstorm in the Midwest, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, and I want you guys to keep that in mind. But I'll keep you guys updated once we get more confidence with the forecast. Now, take a look at my current snowfall forecast for the Midwest. Keep in mind, this is just my speculation. To seek guidance, consult the National Weather Service for more information, but you see that I'm forecasting an area of heavier snow extending from Colorado, Kansas, and Wyoming. I'm favoring the European a little bit more in this case scenario, thanks to a negative Arctic oscillation that will bring a more unstable environment to the Midwest. But the GFS model still could be completely correct. Don't rule it out at all. And I decided to describe how much snow rather than give specific numbers, because it wouldn't do justice to you guys to give you guys specific numbers when the forecast is this uncertain. So I just decided to use vague terms such as heavier snow and moderate snow to see where you should expect the heavier snow if this snowstorm were to occur. But there's still a lot of uncertainty even using vague terms like this, so do not take it with a grain of salt, but this is just my speculation. I expect heavier snow throughout Colorado, Wyoming, and moderate snow just outside of that. So we need to pay close attention to this over the next coming days. But next, let's move on to our next major topic for today, and it's a major nor'easter that's expected to bring heavy rain throughout the Northeast, as you can see here, where I'm forecasting 1 to 2 inches of rain for a large area and 2 to 3 just outside of that. Now, taking a look at the current water vapor imagery, here's the low pressure center. Right now, we do see a well-defined rotation associated with this mid-latitude cyclone, and we have very defining features of the mid-latitude cyclone. We of course see the convection sprawled around the eastern side of the storm, and we see a lot of moisture propagating around the center of circulation at this point, and dry air associated with it as well. So it has a classic mid-latitude cyclone look, the type you'd see in a textbook type look, but it isn't containing a lot of moisture because there isn't enough unstable air for this to be a major moisture or to rapidly intensify or to be a very powerful storm when it comes to convection and precipitation. But it is still enough to dump a pretty large amount of rain throughout the Northeast for this week. You see that we're seeing water vapor develop on the northeastern side of this storm. We're seeing a lot of convection occur on the northeastern side, and this is as a result of the cooler, more stable air mass trying to filter into the warmer air mass that's located on the eastern side. And as it does so, it's forcing a lot of the water vapor further upward in the atmosphere and forcing a lot of lift in the atmosphere in this area of the Northeast. So this is where you should expect the most pronounced rainfall, and we should see a convection increase as it slowly but steadily does intensify headed into the Northeast. There isn't a ton of unstable air for this to rapidly intensify, but there will be enough to dump a good amount of rain throughout the Northeast. Now, taking a look at the forecast from the European model at this time regarding the rainfall, you see that again it has this classical mid-latitude cyclone look where we're seeing convection on the eastern side, a decent amount of dry air just south of this storm trying to filter into center circulation, and we see rain showers propagating around the northwestern side as well. But we're seeing majority of the thunderstorm activity occur where most lift in the atmosphere is happening right now, which is in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. You see that we're seeing the yellows, which represent heavier rainfall. And if we were to continue to move forward, you see some of the thunderstorm activity moves into New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the Delmarva Peninsula gets involved, and then eventually New England gets involved. And since we're seeing the yellows, you can't rule out the chance of flash flooding occurring in those areas, so you need to keep that in mind. And then moving even forward, you see that the low pressure system does begin to intensify quite a bit, because you see by the Sunday time frame, it encounters a little bit more instability, and we see a little bit more convection along New England, which is why part of the reason why you guys will experience the most rainfall along the eastern coast of New England, which is definitely the last thing you want to see, especially since last nor'easter you already experienced just very heavy rainfall, powerful winds, and power outages as a result of that. So you certainly don't want to see even more rain on top of what you already experienced along the coast of New England. But unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be the case, because this storm is going to reach peak intensity, at least in the United States, right along the coast of New England for the heaviest of rain, where the heaviest of rain will occur. So you guys should expect potentially another 3 to 5 inches out of this storm before it's all said and done, which is certainly a major concern, because you see a very big jet stream dip and a trough moving through, and that's going to contribute to a more unstable environment in the Northeast for this storm to rapidly intensify as this moves further northeastward. Take a look at the forecasted rainfall from the European model. You're going to see that there's going to be a pretty large area of 2 to 3 inches of rain, pretty much in the areas where you see the darker purples and reds. That's 2 to 3 inches of rain, and you see that all of New England is involved in around 2 to 3 inches of rain, and we even see some readings 3 to 4 inches of rain closer to Maine and New Hampshire and close to Boston as well, which is certainly a concern if that heaviest of rain enters the Boston area. But you see that this extends to the mid-Atlantic states as well, where we're seeing readings of 1 to 2 inches. While it may not seem like a lot, especially compared to last storm, it does eventually add up. And since we already experienced a lot of rain from last nor'easter, which happened only around 3 days ago at this point, to add another 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 inches on top of that will just add insult to injury, and will certainly increase the possibility of river flooding throughout the Northeast. So you need to pay close attention to river flooding for this week throughout the Northeast, because that certainly could be a concern, especially since you guys already experienced quite a powerful nor'easter just right now. And in terms of wind forecast, what I'm noticing right now is that I'm currently located in northern New Jersey, and the wind is stronger than it was initially expected, which is a concern, because if the winds are stronger than expected, then we're more likely to see a more powerful storm, and as a result, more rainfall, stronger winds overall, and the storm will rapidly intensify even further, because what really strengthens a storm is how much air molecules will converge in the right around the center of circulation, because once that convergence occurs, it forces the air up rapidly, and it creates a lot of lift around center circulation, and that really strengthens a storm overall as the air molecules attempt to filter in the center circulation at a faster pace as a result of stronger winds. So we do see that the winds could be a concern, especially right around New Jersey, Long Island, and the coast of New England as well. So you guys certainly need to keep in mind of a little bit of gusty winds at times. So keep that in mind throughout the mid-Atlantic states. Now, in terms of what the European model the GFS model is forecasting regarding how much rainfall you should expect, if we were to take a look at the total accumulated precipitation from the GFS model, you see it's mostly agreeing with the European model, where we're seeing a large area of 1 to 2 inches to 2 to 3 in some areas, more specifically in New England. And we even see readings close to 4 inches and over 3 inches throughout Maine as well. So there's something certainly you guys need to stay prepared for the Northeast, as I'd say flooding is likely. And taking a look at the wind gusts again, you see the wind gusts are definitely getting up there throughout the Northeast, and the flash flood risk is certainly a concern, because like I said, there will be some thunderstorm activity. You see there's a slight chance of flash flooding, and while that isn't a large chance, it's still at least something you need to be aware of throughout Pennsylvania and right around the Mason-Dixon line, and even New Jersey and New York and the states outside the slight risk should at least be aware that there might be a flash flooding risk, and this extends to New England by tomorrow. So this is something you guys need to keep in mind throughout the Northeast for this week. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.